open the door, I can hear her crying, but it was almost like a screaming. And she said, I have cancer. And, all I could think is like, is she gonna die?
I have cancer. 3 words that have devastated millions. George and Doretha Edgecombe got the devastating diagnosis in the 1970s. George had leukemia.
We had just begun to live what I thought was perhaps the ideal life. He had become the first African-American county court judge. And suddenly this diagnosis, it changes the world that I'm still not able to find words to describe.
Though advised to seek treatment out of state, George never made it that far. He died 2 years after diagnosis.
When you think about it, it's kind of like throwing one pebble into the ocean and it just keeps perpetuating itself. That's the way I think I see George's life.
George Edgecombe, Joseph Flomea, Judy Barnett. The ripples from these 3 tragic losses washed over their friend, state legislator and cancer survivor H. Lee Moffitt.
3 of my best friends that helped me in my campaign all found out they had cancer. All of them ended up having to seek care outside of the state to get the best cancer care. And I watched over a course of a year, all 3 of them die. It hit me very hard. And that was my motivation.
He had a vision. He saw something that I doubt but a handful of other people in the state even saw. And that was that opportunity and that need in this very populous state to have a real comprehensive cancer center.
And I have vivid memories of sitting with Dad in front of Lee's desk while Lee talked about the cancer center. I was in the presence of 2 men that were capable of doing very big things, very impactful things.
When word got out that I was planning to try and advocate for the creation of a cancer center, I thought that people would join me. Quite to the contrary, I found almost 99% opposition.
The folks locally at community hospitals saying, we take care of every cancer patient in our 3 zip codes, we're fine. And not appreciating the difference it makes when you have a teaching and research institution that is thinking along world-class lines, not local lines.
Were there a lot of obstacles that slowed him down? Sure. Was there politics involved? I'm sure there was. But at the end of the day, the grit that Lee Moffitt had was never going to be slowed down by the obstacles that existed.
But over time, I was able to persuade the naysayers and was able to get ultimately the $75 million that we needed to start the construction of the hospital.
Most people involved in a project like this would have signed the papers and left afterwards. But not only was he hard-hatting it through the process, coming out, being far more involved than anybody probably really wanted him to be, right, in those early stages, but he's continued that involvement to this day.
opening day was a celebration of obstacles overcome. 3 years of construction, 5 years of legislative battles. Lee Moffitt and his supporters were finally witnessing his vision take shape.
It's really hard to put the emotions into words. I felt like that I had fulfilled a promise that I had made to those friends that lost the battle. And I had hope that the Cancer Center from its early days would grow into be one of the great institutions in America.
It's become a national institution. And I don't know of another Florida House Speaker or President of the Senate that has come close to doing something like that.
When Moffitt Cancer Center opened its doors October 27, 1986, it had more patients than its 162 beds could hold, and just under 400 team members, all committed to the same mission: to contribute to the prevention and cure of cancer.
I remember 30 years ago just walking in the front door and everything was brand new. Everything was fresh and clean, and it was an exciting time on the ground level of a new facility.
One with a relatively new approach to care, built around teams of cancer experts all under one roof.
With our approach, where you have disease-based departments, you have every one of those disciplines together, working together, making an impression and a recommendation from the very beginning.
This concept, when the hospital opened the doors of providing multidisciplinary care, meant that as scientists were hired, they came into this environment where that's the way everybody worked.
That's what attracted Moffitt's first scientist.
Teamwork is the only way to go now. 50 years ago, you sit in your lab by yourself and you try to discover things by yourself. Well, it's no longer that simple. And I thought that it was a real opportunity for us to be able to try something new.
Just 6 years into building its research efforts, Moffitt gained designation from the National Cancer Institute in 1998, a distinction others have taken decades to achieve. But there was one final step: NCI's Comprehensive Cancer Center status. Moffitt would have to ramp up its research efforts at the laboratory bench, at the bedside, and in prevention.
We've got to be good at basic, clinical, and population science. And it's only if you are outstanding in all three areas that you can become comprehensive.
I was on the committee that reviews cancer centers, and my number came up. I said, all right, you've drawn the short straw. You're going to go down and review this fledgling cancer center that I had never heard of before. But you could see the conviction and the determination that there were some very talented people that were already here. I remember thinking to myself, boy, this is really exciting. This is a center that's on the rise.
So within 3 years, we became comprehensive, and we've had it ever since. Might I mention that we are still the only NCI-designated cancer center in Florida.
And it's a testament to the wonderful team that we have here at the Cancer Center. To be considered as one of the top 6 cancer centers in the United States is just incredible. And I'm really proud of the team that has gotten us to this point.
And if Moffitt Cancer Center wasn't here, I can't imagine the number of lives lost. When you think about it, last year we saw about 55,000 different patients. So that's hundreds of thousands of patients that have come here over the years.
I've been here twice. My daughter's been here 3 times. My wife's been here twice. I've recommended so many people to Moffitt Cancer Center that have gotten excellent treatment for their cancer, and they're moving on with their lives. That's the bottom line. It saves lives.
Saving more lives takes research.
What if we were to study patients and learn from each individual, the one that did well and the one that didn't, and compare them? We wound up calling that total cancer care. What began at Moffitt is now at 14 different cancer centers throughout the United States.
It's a concept that caught the attention of Vice President Biden and his Cancer Moonshot initiative.
Having a goal and saying, yeah, it's going to be hard, it's going to be complicated, it's probably going to be expensive, but if we can get people like the Moffitt Cancer Center to join into this fight, and if we can work together to solve this problem, we can figure amazing things out.
So 30 years from now, I hope that Vice President Biden's Moonshot initiative will have radically altered the landscape of cancer treatment, and that we will be moving towards treating a chronic illness rather than a life-threatening disease.
And where will Moffitt and the battle against cancer be 30 years from now?
Well, hopefully the word cancer will be something in the history books.
But we're the place that erased it.
And I believe we can cure cancer, but we can't do it alone. Moffitt Cancer Center needs partnerships, it needs the government, it needs a unified front of people that are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful.
Carve out a little of what you have, help us with research. Research is what's going to get it done.
We need really smart people with drive and conviction, creativity, and an environment that doesn't get in their way.
One person can make a difference. I'd change that phrase a little bit and say that each person can make a difference.
That each of us has a responsibility, and it only takes one of us to start whatever that momentum is, and other people join in. There's no better story, no better ending, no better possibility.
It's too easy to be mediocre. It's not easy to be exceptional. If it had not been for the universal team effort, whether or not they be a doctor or a researcher or work in the cafeteria or custodians, the nurses that provide such wonderful care, we would not be where we are today. If you have a dream, and if you're willing to work hard enough and you're willing to persevere, then anything is possible.